You started your question, so I had the similar thing. Not only ASEAN, but what about neighboring Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan? How does the Seven Sisters fit into the Lucas doctrine, and will Britain benefit from it? Thank you, sir.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. There was, of course, Manoj Jhaji is from Bihar, and that is also, I consider, a part of East. And defense expert has very eloquently spoken about the Indo-Pacific, the strategic importance of Indo-Pacific. The lady here, she's spoken about economic aspects, and I completely agree. There is one thing which I would like to explain to everyone else, is that we're talking about India. India is just not a singular entity. India is not about, and when you come to London, we don't expect only to see the Britishers. We see different cultures, we taste different cuisine. But India is far bigger than that. So what works for you in, let's say, Hyderabad? I see a lot of people from Telangana here. What works for you in Hyderabad may not work with someone, this lady who's from Canada. There are different rules. What works in Uttar Pradesh need not work in Tamil Nadu. So one has to understand that what are you coming to India and dealing with? Does the future of India lie in these big cities? I think they're saturated. That's why we have a lady like Angela Rayner, who's from Stockholm, and she's probably projected as a leader for the future. We have our honorable former minister and someone I really look up to, Salman Khurshid, and he's from Taruka. So I don't think that the idea of India lives in the cities anymore. It did to simplify things, but no, I don't think so. Now here, let's look at it from a strategic point of view. I'll talk about politics later, because I need to also get back to that. We cannot forget our original profession. But let's talk about strategically. China is a threat. Everybody says China is a threat. Where is China a threat? In Uttar Pradesh. No. Is China a threat in Nepal? Absolutely. They are controlling the entire influence of China is there. The Chinese influence in Myanmar, which is just next to us. The China coming into Sikkim and the Finger area, taking in territories from Bhutan. China looking at influencing through Asian Development Banks in Bangladesh. China coming and taking over a port of Sri Lanka. China having a huge amount of influence and blocking India's entry into ASEAN countries. China will not defeat us through military. China will economically starve us. And what are we doing in the Eastern Theatre? England and India have a shared history. We talk about colonialism. I grew up in a school. I studied in a school which was Irish Brothers. You have a Welsh mission in Shillong where 80% of the children have been born. You have Loreto Convent. You go to Darjeeling, you see St. Paul's, Gothals. The entire education system in the East was not done by the government of India. It was actually by the British. The health system in many parts of the East have been actually created by the missionaries who were also British. So to say that just because somebody in Madhya Pradesh is uncomfortable with the idea of British colonialism does not mean that it actually affects us in the Northeast. The Northeast thinks differently. We in the Northeast are actually asking for a separate time zone from the rest of India because we would like to go with the Assam tea time because the sun rises a lot earlier. So for productivity issues, we want a separate time zone. So to completely say that India is this, and because the national media's obsession, and Manoj Jha would the national media's obsession with what is happening in New Delhi, or what's happening in Mumbai, or what's happening in Bangalore, does not mean that a person from Bhagalpur, or a person from Tripura, or a person from Meghalaya or Mizoram have a lesser life. And the justification that I hear is, oh, but your population is so less. I'll give you an example. This election, can I have a mic?
वो कहते हैं ना कि माइक बंद करने से आवाज बंद नहीं होती, अमिताभ बच्चन ने कहते. So the entire obsession. So I'll give you an example of the recent election which happened in Goa. Goa's population is smaller than that of Manipur, but all the national TVs were in Goa. They have lesser amount of legislative seats, but they were all in Goa, and they cover Goa more than Manipur. So it is not about population. It's about how connected you are with another part of India. I'm very happy that I'm sharing the stage here with Manoj Haji. My sister is married in Dumrao. We have a long history with Darbhanga. And we've actually, there was a time when everybody said, oh, Bihar, Gunda Raj. Are you to Bihari? You know how much it does to hurt the conscience of an individual in that area? So I would urge Britain, England, you have a deep connection with our part of the world. And kindly do not ignore that. When you talk about trade, trade need not be only manufacturing jets. Our region is pristine with mountains, rivers. Why don't you look at tourism? You will not be able to compete with a Taj or a ITC in Bombay or Delhi. But you could look at tourism in our part of the world. You could look at agriculture. You could look at trade. There is a road from Manipur which goes all the way up to Thailand. Who built that road? Well, not us. It was definitely not Nitin Gadkari. It was General Stilwell. It is still there. These routes need to be explored. Linkages to Bangladesh. We all look upon Bangladesh, some people even call them through different names, which I will not say here. Bangladesh's economy is growing far faster than ours. In fact, their output is far more than ours. Can we ignore such a big population? Can we identify a population purely on the basis of how they look, what they speak, or which religion they preach? No. So if India needs to actually come up in the global forefront, India will need to get away from this nationalistic politics. Yes, there was a time when we needed to assert ourselves. Shashi Tharoor has done it many times in the British Parliament and also. But beyond the rhetoric, there has to be productivity. What is that productivity? The productivity is why is everyone doing business in China? We can all talk about human rights. We can all talk about lack of democracy. But the ease of doing business is faster there, it's easier there. But when it comes to Britain and India, not only have we inherited civilization, we have also inherited a deep-rooted bureaucracy which is in India and is in Britain. And that's why the problem I don't see is between the politicians. I see it more between the red tapeism which exists. Coming back to our region, now coming back to what Manoj Haji was saying, of course we need people-to-people contact. Of course we need to have a dialogue. We have inherited a constitution which is completely, more or less from the British. We are communicating here today in English. The language which in people in my state, my tribe, we belong to a small tribe, Tiprasa people, very small tribe. But let me proudly say that we lost 1,100 soldiers fighting shoulder to shoulder in Myanmar in the Second World War. And we fought along with the British against the Japanese. We did it because we believed in the idea of protecting our people and our land. The Battle of Kohima, the Battle of Imphal, these have happened and our people have seen and never did once. We are not ungrateful people, we remember that. So I urge all of you all to even explore that part of India, where you will not be bowed down by hostilities of the past. India loves a lot of things English. That we are today, Tiprasa people today, are asking for a language to be written in a script which is Latin, Roman, English. Because we understand that tomorrow if we have to go and seek opportunities, it is always easier to learn English. Today, an Indian has an advantage over the rest of the world, unlike, let's say, Chinese or someone from a Latin country, because when they come, they already know the language. We do not come trying to grasp hold of the language. We know the language. Our pronunciation may be slightly off here and there, but the entire IT industry has actually boomed compared to our neighbors is because of our proficiency in English. I've never studied outside. I've never gone to Oxford, Cambridge. I've never studied in Delhi. I've never studied in Bombay, Mumbai. I've studied in Northeast. But I think my English is pretty alright for you all to understand what I'm saying. So, education is another area where I think that you all should look into it. Quality education. Healthcare. You already have a legacy of healthcare in our part of the world. Healthcare is again, when Manoj Haji says, people-to-people contact. What is the biggest contact? Healthcare. Healthcare can move, shape and move wonders in this world. Healthcare is something you should look at. Tourism is something you should look at. Because tourism is not only about building hospitals, sustainable tourism is something you should look at. Energy, climate change. We all worry about climate change. We are rich in resources. But we do not want to engage in mining. We do not want to engage in coal mining, limestone mining. We do not want to deplete our resources, our nature. So how about looking at green energy? Green energy is something because, again, while Northeast is rich in its rivers, we are bound by only a chicken's neck. Again, someone from Sikkim would be able to let you understand that. It's a chicken's neck. And while we are resource rich, we need clean energy. Our transmission lines don't come when there is an avalanche, or when there is an earthquake, or there is a landslide, there rains, storms. We don't have electricity for 5-6 days. How about having captive power plants? How about having green energy where we do not need to depend on a transmission line? So these are areas that I urge the West, the British, the English should look at that. And please come to our part of the world. I have not come here to pitch about the rest of India. There are many more capable people here who will pitch about the rest of the country. What I've come here is to pitch about my part of the country, and we love our country. But we want you to explore something where there will be less hostility, there is direct land links. With the Chittagong Hill Port, you have a direct port link. And come with English, come with the language education, come with healthcare, come with tourism, come with green energy, and we will be more than happy to accept you with welcoming arms. We have done it before, and we will do it again. And that is a commitment that we can give you, and this is a commitment which will remain. It has remained for centuries, and it will remain for the decades to come. But you have to take the first step. Well, I am back. Thank you.